Hi there, and welcome back to Scrap with Penny. This is video number 2 in a series that is inspired by Janet with RTS scrapbooking method called 4x4. So she has several videos on her YouTube channel and her Patreon channel that take you through how to do this 4x4 series. And I said earlier, I didn't get to play along with her when she was creating this content, but I found it in earlier this year, and the more I studied it, the more I wanted to try it. So this is kind of challenge accepted. So we've got our papers that we cut for layout number 1, and I went out to Page Maps and I found some ideas because there's a very obvious format for this kind of layout, but I wanted to give you some options. And so here, right here, it shows 3 bands of paper, which you could achieve by cutting this yellow in half. And it shows this little tag. Well, you may recall that we had one little 4x3 left over, and you know, the bottom of that isn't so bad. So so that's one idea. So let's see, without cutting it, you would probably, well, you could go here, and then you could put half of this up here and half down here. You could tuck this under, have a little layered right there, and then you could punch and go right here. So obviously imagine that there's some yellow up here. So that's what this sketch would look like. The second sketch, I don't think I said, September 2019. The second sketch I found is from December 2019, and it's this one right here, and it's kind of the obvious, to me, choice where you would have a band on the bottom, a band on the top, some paper in the middle, and if it were me, I would just, you know, make it to where you didn't see anything. You could put that there, and you'd have journaling here, and then 3 photos here. So there's that option, and that's right here. The third option that I found is over here, and that again has your bigger piece at the bottom. These are actually the same size. You could cut them down if you wanted a little difference, and it's very similar to what we just did as far as how you would execute on it. And it shows a little piece of paper here, which you could put there, or you could use some of your cardstock, or you could ignore it. I'm sorry, I should have had this up closer. Can you see it? And this has 4 very small photos with journaling here and a title up here. And that's April 2022. And then the last one that I found actually goes vertical. So you would just kind of go like this and run your pictures across here. So what do you think? What's your vote? Which one would you vote for? Now it does show a little edge over here, so you could come in over here with like a little scallop punch, and that would be sweet. And then you could tuck this under and go this route. I don't know which one I like. What I need to do is go look for some photos, and then that'll help me decide what direction I'm going. I'm back, and I made my pick, and I'm wondering if you picked the same thing. I'm going to go with the April 2023, and I'm actually going to do a vertical. And I think one reason why I'm leaning toward the vertical is because I have just finished up an Allison Davis class where we focused on a design concept of a 12 by 6, and all of those layouts were horizontal. So I think this vertical will be a nice little change for me. And I went out and I found 3 pictures. I'm going to tell you, anybody that knows me knows that the pandemic was really hard on me work-wise, and I put on 30 pounds, and so it's hard to go back and look at this, but you know what? It's part of the story. And so this is April 2021. In my projects, I have a lot of projects going, but one of my projects is to scrap 2021. Earlier this year, I finished up my month in review for 2021, and then I just thought, I'm just going to sit in that year, and I track my stories to tell in Trello, and this is the front side of my 2021, and you can print it out, so you've got a digital work log, but then if you need a printout. So the first thing I did was I looked at 2021, and it says Easter brunch at Rick's. Now, we were still doing online church, but I do have a screenshot of that service. So I've got a picture of us. I remember, you know, in spring of 2021, hope was kind of starting to come back, and you felt like maybe the worst of it was over. And so this is kind of a nod to coming out of hard times. And then I've got my service. So I'm thinking that I'll mat those, and probably on the blue, to bring out the blue in his shirt. And I'm going to use washi tape to create this little scallop border that is shown on the sketch. There's a little scallop on either side of one of the bands. And I have to give credit to Janet at RTS for this, because she shared Vanessa Bell's trick of putting the washi down onto the white paper, and then it gives it some heft. And when you do that, the washi becomes like a little strip of paper that you can then use a border punch on or cut. And I just use this little small scallop. This is one of my favorite punches. I think it's such a great touch on any layout. So let me cut this down real quick. Here's what it looks like. I think that is just adorable, and I'm seeing it go right there. And that's another reason to consider blue for the mat. I wouldn't want to do yellow because it'd be yellow on yellow. So let me show you, in case you're not familiar with this trick, let me show you this little washi tape trick real quick. So here's my tape, and I'm just going to come, I want to make sure I was in frame, I'm just going to come right up to the edge as close as I can. And doing it against a piece of paper like this is helpful, because then you know when you don't see the white that you've covered everything. Okay. So here I've got the washi tape down, and I don't really worry about the ends. You can kind of tuck them. And then I want to center up. I try to center up my punch, and that way I get kind of an even scallop. So I'm just going to go, I'm going to see if I can do this real fast just to show you. You know, I mean, this isn't super hard, so, but, you know, it just gives, to me, a great little touch. And more importantly, I think it turns, for me, it turns washi into something I would never use, to washi being something I'm considering to see, you know, if I can work it in. Oh yeah, that's a pretty good end. So hopefully this one will be as well on this other end. I was a little off on this one. You can see that little tiny divot, but you know, Homemade is seldom perfect. Do you use washi? Do you have a lot of washi? I'll tell you that when, see, it's off a little bit there too, but oh well, I've got a matching pair now. When I buy the Simple Stories warehouse deals, a lot of times you'll get washi thrown in. I'm going to trim my pictures up next, and I think what I want to do is leave just a tiny sliver of a white margin around them, and then they'll pop a little more against the colored cardstock. Sometimes I do that. Sometimes I cut them, you know, to the print line and then mat it with paper. But I think this time I'm just going to use the excess photo paper. I'm happy to report that the yard service is finally finished. It has been a hairy day. It's 2 o'clock here, and I've been pausing so long because for some reason the dogs are really amped up today. Does this idea have you wanting to pull out 4 pieces of paper? I'll tell you what, the Simple Stories collections are so easy to work with because you get all of the accessories. It makes something like this easier for me. I'm not great at building kits from a bunch of different things. I mean, I just know that's not my strength. Okay. So we're going to go just kind of in the middle here. And I've been looking at the titles on the foam, and the good candidates are happiness, and that's because I feel like really we were starting to come up out of a lot of the fear, and then there's happy, and you could do happy today, but it's 2 different colors. But then I also thought about New Day, and that would have some significance for Easter. So I'm mulling over those choices. The last thing I want to say is I think on this yellow I'm going to come in a little bit and round the corners. So let me trim that and let me decide what my background is going to be. And we're probably not going to use this guy. And one thing that Janet says is whatever you don't use on a page, you roll it to the next kit so that you can use it possibly there. I decided to go ahead and do a scallop cut on this. And if you've never used the Misty Glue Precision Press, I don't know if I'm getting those words in the right order. I just wanted to show you real quick how easy it is. And so I did not have to uncap that. It was ready to go. So I'm just going to lay this down here. And the benefit to working with a wet adhesive is that it's got a little bit of give on it. I think that looks good. Now I need to round my corners. And I like the big Martha Stewart punch. I did trim this down to where the gingham matches on each side. It's equidistant. And I wanted yellow to show against the cream and not the white. So that's what we're looking at. I've got my tape on the yellow, and this piece of paper isn't glued down, so I'm just going to work to shimmy this under there and eyeball it. I tried to use my corners, but it's not quite Well, maybe it is. I think that's straight. Yep. And so I love these magnets as an extra hand when I'm doing certain things. So now I'm just going to pull this up and I'm going to run some liquid adhesive under this. The other thing the magnets do is that they put some pressure on the paper to help the adhesive cure. I've got my photos trimmed. I can't remember if I've said that or not. And I have my photo mats cut, and I'm aware that the blue is slightly different, but I'm pretty much okay with that. I use the magnets to hold my T-square and hold my centering ruler. And so the first piece that I'm going to put down is the center piece. These photo mats measured for me at 3 3/8 squared, and the pictures I printed at 3 by 3, and so that just means there's a little bit of the white margin. Did I get that straight? Oh, I was going to say, I put the photo mats onto the paper, and then for me, I find that it's easier to center up the photo onto it and not fight. And this one is a little crooked. I'm going to have to pop it up and fix it, I can tell. But not, oh my word. It's just, you know what? I'm going to make it easy on myself, and I'm going to use the bottom of this gingham to line it up. Okay. Still thinking on my title, and I need to work journaling in. I decided on my photos that I wanted to put them up more toward the top and not centered so much. I don't know, I just kind of like the thought of more weight up top. Okay, that's good. And so my measurement from the bottom of the photo mat to the bottom of the page is 5 7/8. I mean, you could just do 6 and make it easy, but you know, I was trying to use that paper to line it up. Okay, so let's just get these pictures down real quick. This should not be difficult or take long. I just try and eyeball it on 3 sides, and then it should work all the way around. I'm kind of aware that this gal singing is looking off the page, and I'm just going to have to be okay with that, because the order of the day is that we went to brunch first, and then we came back and watched the stream of the service. So, you know, the accountant storyteller in me has to get the facts straight. Okay, so I think it's looking pretty good. Okay, and so now I've got some embellishments to pull out, and I need to get my journaling done. I'm back, and I think I've got my embellishments pretty well decided, and I thought I would talk you through my choices before I taped them down. The top left corner contains the top half of this, And to hide the steep drop off of the chipboard up against the photo, I pulled this Live Simply little ephemera out, and I think it hides the seam pretty well. I like the flower here. It's over that, and I just think it kind of softens the corner, and it ties in the flowers down here. I have my journaling. I just did a simple little journal box. I honestly didn't want to fool with journal strips on this because I just kind of want to move on. It says, Easter was simpler this year than usual, with things not being fully back to normal post-pandemic. But this spring brought hope and a sense that the tide was shifting. It was almost as if Easter brought forth fully the idea of a new day dawning. We were ready. 4/4/2021. And at the end of my journaling, a lot of times I'll just stick the date on there so that I don't have to worry about adding it somewhere else. I'm really bad about, there was a period in my scrapbooking maybe like 4 or 5 years ago where I just didn't date stuff, and that is no good. So this is a little compromise to myself to make it easy. And I decided that I wanted to go with this title, Hello New Day, and that's why I tilted my journaling to support the title. And you know, you can do that. You can pull a title from the journaling, you can pull a journaling from the title. But I mean, those sentiments are true. And I've got this little bee here. I've got this bee here. I think I'm going to go with this flatter bee because I like his direction a little more. And I'll just pop him up on foam. Although, man, I like the glossy. Oh, you know what? Here is a foam bee that is in that shape that I like. So let me just make that substitution real quick, and I can be happy. Yep, I like the dimension there. And I'm going to pop all this up on foam. I had pulled some butterflies, and initially I had this green one down here, but I like this foam blue one right here a little bit better. And along those lines, I like foam butterflies for up here. I like this smaller orangish one, and then I like this more vibrant pink one. So when it comes time to tape them down, I'm going to put those there. I just did flowers here to kind of bring forth the idea of spring and hope and blooms, and so I've got 3 flowers, and I feel good about that. And then I'll have 1, 2, 3 butterflies. I've got the enamel dots that go with this set. I might pull those out. And then the last thing is, I really thought about stitching on this. I love to stitch, but this paper has the zigzag in it, and so I don't really, man, it would be a lot of work to do a zigzag right here, and it would be incongruent with this, so I'm not going to do that. But I can see me doing a little white straight stitch along here, which would reinforce the white that's here and here, and the white around the die cuts. And that's why I was okay with a white journal box, because there is white on here along, with the cream. So I feel really good about this and the direction of it. I'm really happy with it. And so let me pause real quick and get this stuff taped down. You can see that I've got all of my embellishments down, and my title is down, and I am going to stitch, and I thought that I would just let you see a little bit of this. I just eyeball this. It's based off of years of stitching, and I use this ruler to come in at the first hash mark off of my paper, and I pencil a line, and on this corner my pencil lines got a little off, but you want to do more frequent holes on a corner so that you get the shape of the curve. It's funny because the last time I did stitching on a corner, I was talking about being so careful with it, and then it kind of ended up a little botched. But sometimes things go that way and you just roll with it. I don't think there's probably anybody out there that's had every layout be perfect. Man, if that's the case with you, be sure and tell me in the comments, because I want to celebrate you. So now, you know, that I've got this done, I'll take this kneadable art eraser, and I love it because it doesn't leave any residue, and so you can just come right in and it pulls all of the lead marks off without any mess. So I won't make you watch me punch all of them. The thing I'll say is just make sure you stay in the center of the line. Sometimes it seems like it wants to jump, and if your hole doesn't go exactly where you want it, you know, you can kind of massage the hole with your paper piercer. So I'll be right back. All done here, and I'm holding this because I want to mention that for my hand stitching, I opted for Aunt Lydia's fine 20 crochet thread, and the advantage to it is that you just have one solid string versus three little threads of a DMC color. So I like to use this on the vintage lines. Don't ask me why, it just seems like the thing to do. And I wanted to say on the journaling, I used the smaller corner rounder up here, so it emulates this rounded corner, but you know, to me it's too much to do a big corner on a little journal box. Okay, on this yellow I did foam here, and then I stepped down to the picture, and I did the same thing here. I did foam here, but it's flat here, so it just gives you a little depth. And I decided this little corner needed some green because I've got green here and green here, and so I found this little foam heart. I think it's a nice touch. I did enamel dots. I did a trio in each corner, and I just alternated if it was small, medium, or large. This is up on foam tape from this. This is a foam sticker, so I've got a little foam here to support the fact that this height is higher than this height of the yellow. Foam on this flower. This is glued flat. This is flat with foam under, so it's even. Both of my flowers are up on foam. The bee is a foam sticker. I just love him. So I tried to make sure, you know, my corners were handled and there was something at them. I think there's good movement around the page. I didn't say earlier, but this is that little 1x12 piece that I was going to roll forward and not use, but I decided that it was a nice contrast to have this subtle pattern over here against this plain cardstock over here. So again, this is Basil Cream Puff. My measurements on this paper are 5x12, 5x12 tucked under, 2x12, 1x12, and then remember I did this scallop with the washi on white paper and the scallop punch. So that's my first layout for this 4x4 series with Simple Vintage Spring Garden. And oh, there's a little bee I need to put away. So this is the sketch I used just to take you back, April 2023. And you may recall that I had offered this April 2022, which if you play along with this and use a different sketch, let me know. I had also offered this September 2019 right there with 2 photos, and I had also offered this, which is just really this, except the pictures go this way. So always remember, when you look at a sketch, you can isolate your paper elements from your pictures, and you can pick and choose. So I think it's good to learn to dissect them, and then you have more options in your portfolio. So here we go, 1 down, 3 to go, and I want to thank you so much for hanging out with me. I hope you're going to enjoy this series. It is going to be good for me. It's stretching me a little bit, and I like it. So thank you again, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a thing. I'll be back soon with more layouts, videos, and a little stash busted magic. So please come back and crop with me. Until next time, happy scrapping, and remember, this is where paper meets story. Bye-bye.